She had kind of had this whole experience with spirit and like all of this stuff. And then she was like, okay, but I can't leave because I'm like in this research group. So I need to get back in my body. And so she was like, she couldn't get back. And she started freaking out. She's like, I don't know how to get back. Am I stuck here? Like, am I going to be here forever? And so she like starts panicking. I saw this like little blip of a light, and it was like, I was like, oh, just curious, like, oh, what is that? And I kind of like focus on it, and then the light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden it just like this love, you know what I mean? Like it just like overtook me, poured over me, and I just was bawling. So it like came, this light, it like kind of came out and like was swirling around me like this. And that's, I heard my son, and he was like, I'm here, Mom. And it just like went around me, and I was just like like I couldn't even move. I could not I just literally laid there and bawled. I had never felt anything like that in my whole life. I just go limp. Everything in me goes limp, and I'm above myself, looking at myself, dead.
I am here just to make a little introduction to what you're about to watch, which is a conversation with one of my friends, Shelly Costilow Evans. She is one of the most gifted people I know. She is incredible considering the things that she's experienced in this lifetime. And you're going to see, you're going to hear the loss that's happened in her life, dealing with grief, the layers of dealing with grief that she had to go through, the ways in which things just showed up in her life after, to the point of now working with mushrooms, and her experience with near death. I was going to say the word again, but then there'd be too much experiences in there. So prepare yourself for a very meaningful, goosebumpsy kind of a conversation slash share, because it is like that. And I absolutely loved every second of it. Enjoy. Let the recording begin. I am just going to go into it with, I am here with my friend,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk and catch up, because because to me this is going to be a catching up thing.
Yeah.
Catching up to what? To talking about life and talking about experiences. Oh my god, wherever do we start with this? Okay, it's been a long while. I think I'm gonna say this first.
Okay.
It's been a very long while since I actually had a guest on my podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
this is it's very a little bit nerve-wracking for me right now. I've literally, by the way, put my fairy up there. Can you
I
see the
see it.
fairy on the
Uh-huh.
wall? I've literally just put my fairy up, and uh, I'm very nervous and very excited about this. But today, we're sitting here with Shelly. Now, Shelly, you're gonna have to introduce yourself. We're gonna talk about everything and anything under the sun, I imagine. Probably starting with your whatever you want to share from your life up until this moment where we are right now,
Okay.
and go from there.
Okay. Let's see. In a nutshell, there's no real way to put it in a nutshell. But I guess I would start with probably my spiritual life, as I call it. So I really grew up with, I would say that I was probably what you would call agnostic, meaning like I didn't necessarily, it's not that I didn't believe in God, I just didn't really know what I believed in. My like my dad didn't really believe in anything necessarily, and then my mom's side of the family, you know, were Christian, and I just wasn't really sure. So like it was funny because I remember I used to ask God, like, if you're really real, like make that leaf move, or you know, if you're really real, do this, you know, like. And so it's like I wanted to believe in something more. I just wasn't sure what that was. And so then as I got older, I kind of, I mean, I think I believed in God. I just wasn't really sure the logistics of it all. And then our second son was born with a birth defect, and he passed away after having surgery. And so after that, I really felt this like, because most of the people in my world were Christian, and I wasn't. And so then I felt like I was being punished. Like I had been punished because I didn't believe, because I didn't, all these things. And so I threw myself into Christianity. I joined a Baptist church. Like, I'm from Texas, and I got baptized. I was in church every time the doors opened, and, trying to find peace, trying to find something that would give me some kind of peace. And, where is my son now? Like, what is heaven like? And all of those things. And after 2 years, I can say that honestly, I really didn't feel any better than when I started. I had kind of a community, which I loved, and I loved that aspect of church, but I didn't have that. And so my stepmom actually told me about a book called Conversations with God. And I read the entire book. Like, I stayed up all night and read the entire book. And I remember reading, and literally as I'm reading, my jaw is just dropping like every 5 minutes, going, holy shit, this is it. Like, this is what I feel. Like, everything in me, this is what I feel. And so that really kind of changed the course of things for me. And I could really start moving through my grief and finding some kind of understanding in the whole universe, and, these things that happen to us. I want to say, like, I really focused in on that for several years. And then the 3D world took over. We had more kids. We, just money and work and, corporate shit and traveling, all this stuff kind of took over. And so I kind of came back out of it. And then years later, probably like 10 years later, I kind of had a snippet where I went back in for a few years, dug back in. I started meditating. I started all of this stuff. And I guess I should kind of preface a little bit in that whenever I was young, I would see spirits. And so I shared this with my mom and stuff, didn't really know anything about it. And it kind of quit as I got older. And then I took this meditation course from this medium. And my sole goal in purpose in all of it was I wanted to connect with my son. That was it. Like, I just want to feel him. I want to connect with him. And so I took this course, and I never did connect with him, but I connected with all kind of other beings. And so I would get all these messages and things for like people in my family and random people when I was in town. And I rocked on like that. I did readings for people when I was a medium, and many people do not know that about me, but I did that for about 2 years until things got really heavy, honestly. And I would do like the prayers of protection. I tried to be very conscious about my energy and things like that. But I really started like seeing murders, and it just like got really heavy, and it was like all the time. And I finally was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, like, this just can't be a part of my life anymore. And so I really just worked hard at like closing off. And so in that is when I kind of stepped out of anything really, and then just kind of like, I'm just living life. And so then I kind of went back in for a couple of years. I started meditating again. I started doing really deep work for the first time on like my childhood wounds, my shadow work, childhood trauma, all of that fun stuff. And again, kind of stayed in that for a couple of years, and then went back out into life, and lost our stepdaughter. She was killed by a drunk driver in a car accident when she was 23. And then just months later, I lost my dad really tragically. And then just a few months later, we lost my nephew, which was 18. So it was just like bam, bam, bam. And in that, I honestly was just angry. I was just like pissed at God, like, enough is a freaking enough. Like, how much can somebody take? I just, they say it's like getting hit by lightning. It's never going to happen twice. And here it fucking happened twice. And, I'm just like, I don't know what I've done to deserve this. But so I just kind of pushed everything away again, went back into life. I ended up having a really successful business. I had been in medicine, by the way. I was going to school to be a nurse practitioner and all these things when I started this random business that was going to be a hobby, which ended up completely taking off and not being a hobby. And so it became really successful, but it was in retail. So it was very hustle, very sales, very marketing, very social media, very appearance, very everything that honestly did not align with me, but it's what I did. And so after 10 years in that and a lot of twists and turns, I just kind of hit this point. My husband works out of town with business, and he lost his job with COVID. And I mean, that's all he had ever done for 30 years. And so then he was laid off. And so he went through this like deep depression, like loss of identity. And honestly, for the first time, coming home and having the space and the time to even grieve, like two kids and just all the things like he never had. I mean, literally after our son died, he went back to work in a week. It was the same thing when his daughter died, and it's just like for the first time, it all just kind of hit him at once. And so he was in this deep depression, and I'm like, get your shit together. Like, we got this huge, we were redoing these buildings. I own 3 commercial buildings, and it was this madness. And I'm like trying to drag him out of bed every day, and I'm trying to focus on my work. And it was like, oh my God, like everything is falling apart. Everything is falling apart. And during that time, my best friend and manager, she was just, I found out saying horrible, horrible things, just behind my back. And there was just all this stuff happening. And so then I found out she had been embezzling from me. And so it just led to this whole thing of this downward spiral for me. Like my husband was already dealing with it. And then it led to this downward spiral to me. And it just really knocked me to my knees and took the air out of me. And so I was just like, this is it. Like, this is my time to heal. Like, I have to face it. I can't keep running. I can't keep just dipping my toe in and coming back out. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
And so I really started taking care of myself, self-help, therapy in there with my husband and I, and, myself and all of this. And then I went to Dr. Joe, and I went to Joe Dispenza, one of his events. And literally changed my life. I mean, I had this crazy mystical experience there. My son came to me in a meditation. It was just all of these things. And I knew that that's like, this is what's been calling me. This is why all of these things. And so it's funny because I had always said, like, I had been writing a book about grief for years after, everything with my son. And, I said, God he whispers at first, it's like a breeze, and he whispers at first and you don't hear him. And so then he talks, and then he yells, and then eventually it's going to be a slap, and then he's going to just knock you to your knees, like eventually it's going to be like, are you going to get this shit or not? And so that's literally how it happened for me. And, so yeah, since then I just poured into really and truly going into my trauma. And as much as I had reached acceptance with our children's deaths and all of that, and I could talk about it with anyone, I could sit here and talk to you about it. I could sit here and no one, especially other bereaved parents that I worked with, I was in like support groups and all of this stuff for years. And no one could understand it when I said, if I could go back to that moment and him not die, if I could change it, if I could blink, snap my fingers, whatever it is, and he didn't die, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. And people don't understand that. And it's because quite literally, he saved my life. I mean, I would not be who I am. I would not have even started the transformation, even at that time, to start finding myself, if it wouldn't have been for him. And so, I was to that point of acceptance in my grief. But what I didn't realize when I started the last healing several years ago was what I held in my body. And it's like that just raw pain of the loss and the grief that is just held in my body and my nervous system. And so I think that's where and how I react from that trauma, how in my day-to-day life, how it affects me, how it guards me from being close, to anyone because of the losses that we've had. And even with my husband, it was hard for me to open up, be vulnerable, really let him in. I mean, he tried desperately to love me and be there, and I, just wouldn't let him in for many years. And yeah, so I just went from that to just digging in and doing retreats and just really everything that I could do to release the trauma from my body and actually heal it, like actually transmute it, retrain my nervous system, be very hyper aware and observant of my thoughts, of my actions, of everything. And that was several years ago. And I had been called to mushrooms for a while. Like I had known about them. I had watched other people's experiences. I read about it and everything, but I was so scared. I was just like, I have never done drugs, I have never done anything like that. I mean, some weed, back in my teen years, but that was it. And I was just like, I just don't know. All I could think about was, the people and that say, like, talk about bad trips, or something like that. And I was just like, there is, like, I'm so interested in it, and I think that it could be amazing for some people, but I was scared shitless to even try it. And so then
Can
came
I
a,
can I
yeah,
interrupt you a
yeah,
bit?
yeah,
'Cause before we go into that part,
okay.
I want to ask you, because you mentioned somewhere at the beginning about closing off. So you started off with saying when you were young, you used to see spirits,
Mm.
and because I'm one person that never has, like, I don't have that superpower like you do. And I know, to me, it's so interesting when I hear people say that they see spirits and whatever else that's out there. And then you said you closed it off.
Mhm.
So how do you do that? Like, how, because I understand seeing, but how do you close it? How do you stop
So,
something that's so,
so it was hard. So when I was young, I would actually see, like physically see them. When I got older, it's more like I don't communicate with spirit in that way, but I have a connection with, like, God, maybe my, spirit guides. And so I
yeah.
communicate in the same way, but it's like it's more like a channel where it's like you communicate with thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
Mhm.
yours. It comes in very, very, very fast. And so it's like it's more like an impression, like in your mind's eye. And so, like, say if I was doing a reading, it would be like, I would focus or whatever, and then I might see an image of, a lady or in a red car, and then and it's just like bing, 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 bing coming at you. And so I would just sit here and say, I'm seeing this, I see this, I see this, I see this. And so whenever I closed it off, it was hard because it's like I had to literally keep, like, in, I don't know. It's like, it's just spiritually, I would just be like, nope, I'm not
Mm,
receiving that. I'm not
mm.
receiving that. I'm not receiving that. And so, and I would kind of have these talks with spirit, like, whoever's sending this shit to me. I'm like,
Keep
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm not available anymore.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it was hard for a little while. It
Mm.
was. But I just had to keep literally like, nope, I'm not. And I would just literally physically, like, make myself, like, go do dishes, go
Yeah.
clean the bathroom, go do something, and just don't. And then of course over time it just kind of stopped.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've heard this as well, to be honest. I mean, it goes on with a lot of things. Like, if you don't focus on it, it'll go
Yeah.
whatever it may be, whether it's a habit, whether it's a pattern, whether it's a spirit in your case. Okay, okay. So you've done that for a little bit. How old were you when you had your son,
21.
by the way?
20
21. And then, so then when you were,
or
did he did,
20 20.
and did he pass like long after, or was it like a,
No, in the next day he had surgery immediately after he was born, and then he was going to have to be transferred to another hospital. If anyone is watching this has heard of it, he had what's called a diaphragmatic hernia. And so it literally has a 50-50 survival rate. And
mm,
so when they were going to transfer him out to a higher level, like, they transferred him out immediately. to a bigger hospital in Austin. And then that care wasn't high enough. So they were going to have to transfer him out again to a higher level that offered, it's called ECMO. So it's really where that you utilize a machine to basically oxygenate your blood and everything. And basically you just get to rest and grow because so he had a hole in his diaphragm. And so in that hole, like your liver, your intestines, and all of that is under your diaphragm. And so when you have that hole, they migrate up. And so this is where your lungs are. And so his lungs did not form. So he had very small lungs. And so in the surgery, they put everything back in place and, use a patch on his diaphragm and, then just try to let his lungs grow. But he also had a heart defect as well. And so in the treatment that he would need for that ECMO, they said he had a 100% mortality rate. He would not have survived. So we ended up removing him from life support.
How do you, God, I can't even imagine, like, how do you go through something like this?
I mean,
Like that.
it killed me. It killed me. It took me out of, I mean, when I say completely sideways, I mean, I know obviously those things do take you like that, but I mean, I felt like I was living life and with rose-colored glasses, like I meant, Shane, I was 15 when Shane and I met, and, it was, of course, rocky. Like we were young. He drank a lot, and, it was rocky in there, but we got married. We had our first son, Peyton. He was beautiful, perfectly healthy, happy, and like it was very intentional. We wanted him to be a couple of years apart. So Peyton's first birthday, I, got off the pill and we started trying, and I got pregnant right away. I had, a great pregnancy until the end. I was facing some preterm labor, but yeah, I mean, I delivered at a small hospital. I had ultrasounds. It was never found. We had absolutely no idea until he was literally born, and he just didn't breathe. And they just like kept working on him. And, he's just a little sluggish. He'll come around, and then he just didn't. And we were like, what is going on? Everybody, it was just madness. And so they did an X-ray, chest X-ray, and that's when they found it. And they immediately called and had him transferred out to NICU. And I mean, he had surgery 7 hours later. He was in surgery for 6.5 hours. Yeah, and then it was just like, I mean, you don't even have time to wrap your brain around it until it's over. Like it's all, you know what I mean? And you're having to make literally life decisions here, and it's like, I've never even heard of a diaphragmatic hernia. How the hell can I even make decisions about it? I don't even know what it is. Like, I want a second opinion. And they're like, well, this is the second opinion. And you're like, well, how do I know if I can trust you? I don't know. And so, yeah, it was horrible. It was a horrible time afterwards. Shane, like I said, Shane went back to work. I was there with Peyton. And, I mean, it was like, I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't function. Like he's hungry. I'm like, go get you a hot dog out of the refrigerator. Like he was 2. I'm like, whatever you can get yourself, because I'm not fixing anything. I'm not. And I wouldn't have taken my own life, but every night I would pray to just not wake up. Like, can you just let me just not wake up? Because Peyton has his dad. He has family. I just can't live in this anymore. I didn't know how to get through it. I really didn't. And again, why I threw myself into church, because I thought, this is going to give me some peace. Like that is something that is going to help me feel better, help me see some kind of bigger reason here that this happened, and then, yeah, it just completely changed who I am in every possible cellular way.
Wow.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, how do you see it now? Because of course at the time it's just pain and suffering, and probably no end to when this is gonna go.
Yeah.
What lens do you look at all of that with now?
It is such a level of undescribable love of him and God, because it's a sacrifice of his life. Like, we had that soul agreement before he ever came here, and he chose to give up this particular life on earth to teach me what I needed to know, what his dad needed to know. And so it's really just that, like, you can only describe, because it's such a level of pure unconditional love when you talk about feeling the love of God. Which I have now, but it's the same from him, because it's like, oh my God, like, how can they possibly love me so much to
Mm.
come here and literally show up and be this beautiful being to show me what I need to. And I still feel so connected to him now, so I don't feel the loss in the same way. But yeah, I just see it as like such an honor, such a
Mm.
blessing. There's no other way that I could even describe it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm a bit taken back about it all, to be honest. I guess because I've got my own children, and in my head, just imagining what it would be like to carry a baby full term
Yeah,
and then not get to experience life with that baby.
yeah, very
Wow.
empty, very empty. Like, you just, your arms, ache, like your body has just had this baby, and given birth, and then you're just like leaving. I remember when Shane and I left the hospital after he died, and I was like, this can't be happening. It's like he's just at the hospital and we have to go back and get him.
Mm.
It's like you live in such a denial because your arms are empty, and it's, like, your milk coming in and like all of these things. And I mean, yeah, it's just very empty. And then losing my stepdaughter was like a whole different
How
aspect.
long, how much time had gone in between, by the way?
Oh gosh, 20 years, 20
Mm.
years. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe. No, not quite that much, maybe. Yeah, like 15.
So do you want to share a little bit about that experience? Like what
Oh,
exactly happened and how did
yeah,
you navigate that part?
yeah. Well, again, I had done quite a bit of work up until that point. Reached acceptance to the point that I would not have changed, Shelton's death and all of that. But yeah, she grew up with her mom mostly overseas and in Germany, and so we didn't get to spend her life with her. And so she had moved here when she turned 19. She had moved to the States, and so we finally had her in our life. And
Mm.
she was 23, and it was just, she was actually living with Shane's parents, so she was living with her grandparents. And so we finally, after all of that time, had her in our life, and went on family vacations for the first time, as a whole family. And she had gotten to be with her brothers and sister, and yeah, all the things, all the that we had waited for forever. And so she had been here for several years, and was living with them. And she was coming home one night, and it was we call them GIs, but they're in the military. And so he was leaving a party. It was on Cinco de Mayo, and he was leaving a party which his friends had taken the keys a couple of times already, and he had gotten them back and left in the car. And so it was a divided highway. So it was like 2 lanes and then a grassy area median and then 2 lanes. So it was like a 4-lane divided highway. Well, when he came out, he turned left into oncoming traffic. So he didn't go across the median and turn left. He just turned left, right? And it had been reported multiple times. Even friends of ours were coming home the same way, and they ran off in the ditch to avoid him. I mean, he was going like 100
Oh
oncoming
wow.
traffic head on. And so he just happened to strike her head on. They were both killed instantly. And my mother-in-law called, and wanting to know how to get in touch with her mom, that we needed to get in touch with her mom. And she was still in Germany. And I was just like, what do you mean? What's going on? And she told me that, they had, the deputies had come to the door. And I was just freaking out. I'm just like, it's like, they don't know that's her. Like they just think that it's her. They don't know that it's her. No, like I'm not listening to that shit. There is no way. They're just saying that. So until we've seen her ourselves, like we're not believing that that is her.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's true. They had pictures of her tattoos. It's her. And I was just like, no, this is not happening, And so it was a very different situation and very difficult to navigate, because it's like, I'm not her mom,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like she's still like she's just always been a bonus daughter,
Yeah.
I still felt her and that way. And then of course my husband, and then also her mom, because I know what she's feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would just sit on the phone with her, while she cried and said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't go through that. And I'm just like, it just like ripped open this wound,
Yeah.
Um, and, so we, planned the services and everything for her mom. And then, like I said, I was just really pissed. I was just really pissed. Like, how, do you take two of our
Mm-hmm.
children? And, it just really didn't seem fair. And again, it was like all these people that are like, because I would live in fear of something happening to my other kids. And everybody was like, it's like lightning. You're not going to be struck twice, like I said. And I'm just like, don't ever say that to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever say that to someone again, because it does happen. Um, and so, yeah, but again, it was just like another layer, another layer.
I imagine at this point you were probably seeing it with a different perspective altogether,
Hmm.
or at least I imagine even from the perspective of years had gone by, and
Hmm.
you were a different person because of that, but a different person because of all the work that you had done onto yourself. So I'm imagining this was a little bit different to navigate, but still very hard.
Hmm. Yeah, because you kind of, when you do kind of go into this healing and you're at this spiritual level, so to speak, it's kind of like you feel guarded in some kind of weird way, right?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I'm healing. I've healed this. I've done this and I've done that work. And so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, nothing bad is going to come to me now.
Yeah.
Kind of put these, blinders on. Yeah, not the case. It's always,
Yeah.
I call them lumps in the batter with my clients. I'm like, you've hit a lump in the batter. You can rock on and it's all smooth and great for a little while, but something's going to show up. Something's going to show up where you still need to heal.
Okay, so now you mentioned your cliency.
Yeah.
So let's walk that path. Okay, so you've had two deaths that you had to deal with.
Hmm.
Then you've gone through your little deeper deeper search, deeper
Yep.
inner search.
Yep.
Can you share a little bit about your experience at the Joe Dispenza retreat, because you said that was a massive step
Hmm.
for you
Hmm.
in whatever next.
Hmm. So, yeah, so I was just like, of course, in the meditations, and I was seeing things so different and like feeling different in my body. And just, I felt peace. It's like a sense of peace, and it's like you feel like you're changing on some kind of cellular level, right? Because it's like I remember walking out of the ballroom and it was like all these windows, and me and my friend at the same time that I even met there, we were like, oh my God, when did these colors get so bright? Like, what is are we on some kind of drugs or something? And so it was, two really wild things happened to me at that retreat. And it was my first one. So that will tell you something. But so I was actually I was a research participant. And so I was brain mapped. And so during the meditations, I had a brain map on, because of the research that he does before and after meditation. And so I went through like all this stuff and all these vitals and all this medical crap. And then I go into meditation, right, with the brain mapping. And then I redo blood work and redo all this stuff. And well, in my brain mapping, I was sitting in this line. We were in these chairs, and I had talked to the lady to my right, just very briefly, just like, we ready for this, kind of thing. I didn't even look to my left at all. There were, I don't even know, two or three people to my left. I didn't even look to my left. And so, we start going. And so they're behind you. You're connected. Your brain mapping is connected to a laptop behind you. So each person has a laptop, and there's people behind the tables, right? That are on, the research people. And,
Yeah.
so I'm in this meditation, and I'm, in, and like I had started at this point moving. So I like move energy, and I kind of like know what it is, but it's still kind of weird, and I'm still trying to figure it out, so I'm just kind of like this, and I kind of like keep it under control, but it's starting. And so I can feel myself moving, and I'm just really deep in it and focusing. And so then it's like at the end of the meditations, he says, lay down. And so you go in front of you and you lay down, right? So I lay down. As I'm moving out of my chair to lay down, lady to my left is like breaking down. Like I can hear her like this emotional, like big. And so I'm immediately like, oh my God, I'm drawn to her. And like this had been going on, like I'm used to this, I mean, I've been to retreats, I've done work, I've in medicine, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't distract me. But for some reason, I'm like honed in on this lady. And so I'm just like, okay, I got this brain map on. I have to concentrate on this meditation. So she's over here. So I lay down. I notice like she doesn't lay down. She's still in the chair. And so I just keep like, just touch her hand. Like I just wanted to touch her hand. And I'm like, but you got to focus on this meditation because you're doing this brain mapping. And I'm just shit. So I'm trying to focus, but I'm being pulled over here. And that just keeps like, I just need to touch her hand. Like, I just feel like I just need to touch her hand. And so I make it through it. But as soon as I can, I'm like taking my eye mask off, and I'm like, what is going on? Right. And she's got a group, like there's like 4 people around her at this point. And I turn and I look at her and take my eye mask off, and she said, "It's you. Oh my God, it's you." And I'm like, what? It's me. And so I'm like, I don't know what is going on. And so the lady behind me that was running the laptop, she was like, we were just watching you guys in there. And I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So apparently she actually had a life fatal disease that she was healing. And she had left her body, and she was not able to come back, is what happened in her meditation. So she had left. She had kind of had this whole experience with spirit and like all of this stuff. And then she was like, okay, but I can't leave because I'm like in this research group. So I need to get back in my body. And so she was like, she couldn't get back. And she started freaking out. She's like, I don't know how to get back. Am I stuck here? Like, am I going to be here forever? And so she like starts panicking. And then I guess, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what's going on, but the lady explains that it was like on the charts on our waves, our brain waves. It's like, because I remember I would go into the void, right? I'm like into this, and it's just like black, and I'm just like floating, and I'm like in the void, and then I would come back, and I'm like aware of the room, aware of it, and then I'm like back in the void, and I'm So okay, whatever, that's cool. Well, apparently they're saying like on our brain waves, it's like when she would go down, mine would go up. And then it's like they would even out, and then hers, and then when mine would go down, hers would go up. And she said you were just like anchoring her. Every time she would get too far out and her brain waves would go down, yours would spike up and it would pull her back up. And she's like, we just sat here and watched it, like your brainwaves just followed. And she was like, you were literally like her anchor. And I was like, what? I couldn't even talk to the lady. There was so much going on. And so it was probably an hour later when she finally was able to explain to me that she had left her body, and she freaked out because she couldn't get back, didn't know how. And she said, it was you. You were just like you had a hold of my hand, and you were just like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, you're not going to get too far out. You're not going to get lost. And she's like, you just held me. And she said, I thought it was the lady to my left. I didn't even know it was you. I said, yeah, I never even talked to you before I went in. And she was like, yeah, me either. She said, and I sat here and talked to the lady to my left for like 30 minutes. So she's like, it has to be her. But when you took your eye mask off, she was like, no, it was you. So that
Wow.
freaked me out a little bit. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, this is some crazy shit. I don't even know what is happening here. And so then that was like day 2. So, by the last day, what is it, 7 days, 6 days? I don't even
Yeah.
remember. Anyway, we do the pineal gland meditation. And so that's first thing in the morning, it's supposed to be 4 hours. We were 4 hours and 45 minutes. And I would have swore to you that it was an hour and a half. It was like, you're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
We were all like, there is no way he is lying. So we're all trying to grab our phones to see like, how long
Yeah.
was but anyway, went through the whole meditation, and it's at the very end where he's like, you're laying down and you're like kind of resting, and you're just kind of coming back. As soon as it was like nearing the end, I was like, I was gone. I saw this like little blip of a light, and it was like, I was like, oh, just curious, like, oh, what is that? And I kind of like focus on it, and then the light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden it just like this love, you know what I mean? Like, it just like overtook me, poured over me, and I just was bawling. So it like came, this light, it like kind of came out and like was swirling around me like this. And I heard my son, and he was like, I'm here, mom. And it just like went around me. And I was just like, like I couldn't even move. I could not, I just literally laid there and bawled. I had never felt anything like that in my whole life. Just it's like raw, pure, unconditional love. I mean, absolutely beautiful in every cell of your body. Like, I cannot even explain it. It was wild. I was so weak after that. I couldn't
Mm.
get up. I couldn't walk. I mean, my friend, my roommate was actually like, help me out. They helped me out the door, and she brought me some food to try to help me out. I had to go take a nap. Like, I could not function. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just, yeah, it was wild. But I think that was the start of me really, starting to, I think, tap into my soul,
Mm.
just really trusting in my soul and the other side, honestly, in a very different way than it had been, 20 years before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. How do you even move from this? This is honestly the entire time when you were describing everything you described there, I had goosebumps on all of my body. I cannot. I don't have a poker face. I cannot keep a straight face when people share things like this, and I've noticed this goes in my head. Of how much can you really be shocked by things that people share?
Yeah.
You can. You
Yeah.
can. And I think because I've obviously not to that extent, but I've been to these retreats and I know what it's
Yeah.
like.
Hmm.
And then to be open like this, like to have instead of when people have panic attacks, I call them love attacks.
Yeah.
When that
Yeah.
happens and you can't function because
Uh-huh.
your heart just opens and you're like, I don't even know what to do. You don't realize whether you're a human anymore in this human existence and in your body or what the heck.
Hmm.
Oh my God. I need to bring myself back now because after that, I think I went places.
Yeah.
Wowzer. Anywho,
All leading up to where I am today. It was
okay.
all such a progression, over
So
the
was
years.
that the Joe Dispenza? When did you meet M? When did you start all the things to do with M? Because that's when we met.
After Joe, I commented in one of his groups because obviously, like, you've kind of gone those levels, and my
Yeah.
husband didn't do any of this kind of stuff, any of this. And so I was in one of his groups basically commenting, like, how do you do this work? And how do you go so deep? And how do you do this and your partner not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you navigate that? How do you work on that? And a couple of people tagged him. And so that's how we met. We just started talking, and then I joined one of her courses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it
So
was
how long?
right after I went to Dr. Joe.
That must have been like what, 3, 4 years now?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
That
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. That's so weird because it
I
feels
know.
like it was many more years ago.
I
So,
know. I know. I think about that. I was just there at their retreat with Em and Scott, and it was like, oh my God, I feel like I was telling them, like, I'm just so grateful for you guys, for meeting you and everyone that you have brought into my life, like the whole community. And, but I was just like, oh my, it literally feels like I have known them my whole life, and
yeah,
it really has been such a short time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, okay. When did you come about the things that you're into now? So maybe open that door and tell me and whoever's gonna watch this what path you're walking right now. Because you shared a little bit about the businesses that you had, and those are probably not happening anymore. Like the retail is not there anymore, as far as I'm aware.
So, yeah, interestingly, again, spirit. But before all of that happened with my business and I closed it, I had already, like, I had missed medicine, but I'm big in natural medicine. And
Hmm.
so I had really wanted to go back to it. I had a salon upstairs, and so I had my boutique downstairs, and I had a salon upstairs, and so I was going to make half of that basically like a wellness clinic. And I wanted to see clients there, and so I had started courses to be an integrative health practitioner. And so I had already been in that for a year when that business went away. I ended up closing it a year after all of that happened. I stayed in it for a little while, but it just didn't align. And then after Dr. Joe, I was like, yeah, this is not anything that I want to be doing anymore. So, yeah, so I closed it all and then continued my integrative health practitioner. And then I found a modality called spinal flow. And so I got certified as a spinal flow practitioner. And, I again, I had started 2 books at that point. My real goal was to do workshops. Like, I wanted to, not necessarily retreats, but like weekend workshops
Hmm. Hmm.
for grief and trauma. And
Hmm.
so, that's what I specialized in. And that's what my books were about, and that are still not finished, but are about, will be about. And
And
they're still in the making. And so after all of that, I did that. And so then I started seeing clients for really focusing at first on the integrative health practitioner, which is like, it incorporates all of it, like the stored emotions, the trauma that we have, but it's also like, I'm running labs, I'm looking at your hormones, we're looking at food allergies, especially for like autoimmune disease and like chronic health problems, because generally it's going to tie back to emotional health stuff. But if you just tell people that, they're going to be like, yeah, right, no, I need help physically, right? So I try to hit it, I call it a multi-prong approach, because I'm going to hit it physically. We're going to look at that. If you need supplements, we're going to look at that. We're going to run labs, we're going to get you some relief, but we're going to dig into your trauma too. And we're going to look at all these emotions too, and your thought patterns and your beliefs and your triggers, and and where are you spiritually. So we're going to kind of do it all. So that's kind of where I was at before I ever, well, that was all in motion before I ever came to mushrooms or anything like that. And so now I do both. I still do clients, see clients, and it's a much deeper level now.
Mhm.
I do more energy work when I'm, in person. I utilize spinal flow, but it's a lot more energy now because I've learned to trust myself and where it leads me in that. And but now I host psilocybin retreats, which I never saw myself doing in a million years. So yeah.
How did that come about? Please do share. This is going to be another chapter in the third book, probably at this
Yeah.
point.
Uh, so as we talked about, had a ketamine retreat. And so I did the very first one. And like I said, I had been called to mushrooms, learning about them, so interested in them, their healing work, spiritual work, all of that. But I was scared shitless to do it. And
Mhm,
so I went to this ketamine retreat. I had a lot of releases at the ketamine retreat. Like a lot of emotions that were still on the surface and things like that. But really and truly, after that, it was like, okay, I did this ketamine retreat, and it's like, I know I can do it. I know I can do mushrooms. I can handle this. And so it really gave me the confidence. And it was funny because I went back to M and I was like, can't you just do a mushroom retreat? Like, you've already done this. And like, I trust you. Can't you just do that? And she was like, no, I don't really want to do that. So I, found someone else, this beautiful lady. And so we ended up, Shane and I both went. Shane went to the ketamine retreat with me, by the way. And I have to mention that. And so he's kind of been on his own journey. I'm like a few steps ahead of him. So this is kind of our journey, but
mhm,
he's on it. And
mhm,
so we go to this psilocybin retreat. And yeah, that to say Dr. Joe was life changing, that retreat was by far um, the biggest life changing thing probably in my life. I want to say, obviously, the grief was, and it has to be up there with it, but
mhm,
transformed my life in a way that I could never have expected. I could never have seen. I could never have anything. I knew going there that I was going to face my grief. That was my intention. I had these soul sessions and these meditations with myself, and I
mhm,
prepared myself for it. Um, and I said, you know, uh, to my soul, to the medicine, to everything, I'm like, whatever it is, wherever it takes me, just take me. I'm ready. And so I knew what it was going to involve, and it did. So it took me through every ounce of grief that I was still holding in my body physically. Like I was purging physically, wailing, crying. I'm like laid out on the ground, gripping the dirt. I mean, it was not freaking pretty. I didn't think it was ever going to end. I didn't think it was ever going to end. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And it's like, as soon as I thought that I could come above water and breathe and just go to the bathroom, it's like I would just start to move and the shit would just roll over me again. And here I go again. And the two things the whole journey, of course, sticks out, but two things in that journey stick out to me. And it was, I was just so weak from just being so like just physically, emotionally drained for hours and hours. And I told the lady that facilitated it that, I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like weak. Can you help me? So she was going to help me up to the bathroom. But as soon as she grabbed my arms to help me, my legs just buckled and I just hit the ground. And I'm like, I can't even walk. Like I just broke down crying again. And she sat to my right, and another lady that was assisting her sat to my left. And I'll never forget that because it was like for the first time I was witnessed.
mhm,
Like nobody was trying to change it. Nobody was trying to fix it. I was
mhm,
fucking in the fire of the pain and the rawness, and they just sat beside me. And I was just this this is what it's like to really be held. This is what really holding space for someone is. So that part was huge for me. And then later on I kind of started moving around, and I ran fever on mushrooms. And I now understand why. At the time we didn't know why. But I had been up like in the air, meaning like I wasn't usually when you do journeys, you're kind of like bundled up and you're kind of in a little cocoon. And I was up in the air moving around. And so, my fever stayed what felt to me, it was hot, but it was manageable. And so at one point I got up moving around. I was just like, I'm feeling my temperature rise. And so I was walking out on this hill. We were like in the woods, and I was walking on this grassy hill, and I just remember like I just buckled to the ground, and it wasn't from the pain for the first time. It was like I explained to you, it washed over me. It's like, I mean, God, just like, just the feeling and the spirit of God just surrounded me, and my son was just right there. Like it's almost like I could reach out and touch him, but I could feel him so strong. And it was all of this love, just this pure, amazing, like I explained in the light, right? Just this love. And so I just hit the ground, and I was just bawling. And I ended up sitting on that hill for, I don't know how long I was out there, probably an hour and a half with them. I was just sitting
Mhm.
there with them. And I remember it, like, God was just like, this is, this is what it's like to be a bereaved mom. Like, you just be. You don't have to try to not be. You don't have to try to get rid of it. You don't have to try to change it. You don't have to try to overcome it or get through it. Just sit in it, just be. And so from my son, it was like, this is just like, this pain is the love. I mean, like, if you didn't love me as deep as you did, then you wouldn't hold all of this pain. And so it was, yeah, I mean, there are just no words for what that felt like, and what I experienced on that hill. um, and then the next day, I kind of knew going into my journey the next day. It's kind of like I got through the shit of my grief, and I'm like, this is going to be about my childhood. Like, I already know I'm going to go visit that. So my dad, like I said, I was very close to my dad. My dad mostly raised me. I was kind of between my mom and dad, but he mostly raised me, and we were very close. But he, had his demons. He was an alcoholic. And um so when I first went into the journey, he showed up pretty early. And I knew, like I said, I knew going into it that I was going to go through my memories and go through my childhood. And he said, this wasn't your burden to bear, so I'm going to sit with you while we go through this. And he did. He sat like right here beside me while we went into all of these memories and all of these painful things in my childhood. And it was beautiful. And, you gain this understanding, you gain such a deeper awareness of why things happen like they did, and also just the bigger meaning of it all, like the bigger meaning of it all, and what it was trying to show you. And so on this day, I was bundled up. I was in a hammock outside, but I was in front of the fire because of my fever. I would get very cold, so I was like freezing, but I was burning up. And so I was bundled up. I had a blanket under me. I had another blanket on top of me. I had a like robe thing on. I had a weighted blanket on top of that. I mean, I was like this. And plus I had an eye mask on. So it was kind of it was manageable, like the day before, when I was going through all of that with my dad. And then it was like I came out of that, and I kind of felt like I was, kind of coming out of the journey, like you kind of start thinking clearer, and you know what I mean? You just don't really feel under
Mhm.
the influence as much anymore. But honestly, I was just getting more uncomfortable physically. And I was just like, man, this fever is going up, and I needed to go to the bathroom again. So they were gonna, they were like, okay. So I was coming back from the bathroom, and I was just like, golly, I'm just like, I'm freezing to death. Like, and I'm just like this, I'm shivering just like this. So I get back in, I'm like freaking bundling up. And one of the beautiful ladies there, she was trying to help me, and we were outside. So she was like, I can't bring you a heating pad. I can't bring you anything to help you warm up because you're outside. So I knew none of this. I knew none of this, but she gets the idea to warm up some rocks for me in this fire that is, I'm like maybe 6, 8 feet from this fire. And she's going to warm some rocks because my hands were like ice. So she's like, I'm just going to warm a rock for you to, but I knew none of that. So I get back in my cocoon, pull my eye mask back down. So they can only literally see like probably this much of my face. Okay. And so I'm like this, and I go back in, and I just go deep. I just go deep. And so as I told you, I move energy. And so when I do, it'll kind of be like this, or, some my arm might do weird things or whatever. And this felt very different. This was like, I was so weak that like every ounce of energy was out of my body, but it was like this, like something was moving me. Okay. And in that, I remember having the thought, I should be at the hospital. Something's not right. And I see the white light, and it like gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it comes around me, and I'm bawling, 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 just like doing this, and I'm just bawling. And all of a sudden I just surrender. I'm just like, I'm too fucking tired, honestly. And then it was like, I'm just gone. Like I just go limp. Everything in me goes limp. And I'm above myself, looking at myself, dead. And it was kind of like, holy shit, like what is happening? And it was like seeing yourself dead is, I think that was probably out of any of it, like it was a beautiful experience, but that part was actually really traumatizing. It replayed like a record in my head for days after. And then in like a breath, I was just gone. I was just like gone to the other side. And so I knew nothing that was going on around me. With the exception of seeing myself like that, I was completely gone. I didn't see other people around me. I don't know what was happening. I don't know anything. And when I got to the other side, I was like this. There is no way to explain it. It's like this black, but it's not black. It's like a silver, but it's not silver. It's like this metallic water, but it's not water, and it's not wet. And there's no way to explain it. It's just like this beautiful, shimmery, but dark, flowing energy. And I'm that. And then there's God, this God that is all everywhere. And then there's 3 beings over here that are the same substance as me. I can see their shape. But it's like you're the same, but you're separate. And the only way I can explain that is it's kind of like a raindrop going into a lake. It's like the raindrop is its own, but it goes into the same, So it's like we were all the same, but I could see in a way that we were separate, right? And so I hit this space and this energy and this beingness, and I am like, holy shit, this is peace. It was like, there's no stillness vaster than that stillness. Like there is no bliss, no peace, no anything that you could possibly imagine in a million years, because you're not even breathing. Like if you can't even imagine like even that peace within your own body, because your blood is still moving, like your lungs are still pumping air, right? So this is such a stillness that I was just like, I had lived in such fight or flight and such chronic stress in my body, like my whole life, that I was like, I'm just going to stay right here. Like, I'm just going to stay right here. I don't want to go anywhere. And so there's these beings over here, and they were not like relatives. Like I knew who they were, and yet I knew that I was connected to them. So I sensed them as being like my spirit guides, because they were definitely watching over me. They were definitely there to help me, but it wasn't like, oh, that's my dad or my son or anything like that. And they kept pulling me in that direction. Like they kept pulling me to, because we were supposed, I say supposed to, it wasn't like I had to, but it was like they wanted to have this conversation or communication or something. And I literally was like, no, I'm just going to sit in this. And they were just, I could feel this like, oh, pulling. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to stay. I did that several times. And it was so interesting because then the God, like the vastness over here would be like, breathe. And I remember like hearing that in my head and it not connecting, like it not connecting. But that happened twice while I was on the other side, was he would say, breathe. And I didn't know what that was. And so anyway, I just hung out there and like feeling this and having these realizations, honestly, of like the state that I live in my day-to-day life. That was the realization in that, and what true peace feels like. And so then this God, after, he said, breathe, I was kind of like, huh? Like I said, it didn't really connect as to what that was. But then I was like, wait, what is it with this? What is it with this fever? And he said, I will refer to they because that's what it is to me. So they said, it was 108. And I was just like, oh, I remember that. I was just like, oh, okay. And so I just kind of went back into this space. And then they were like, he said, breathe for the second time. And then they said, it's been long enough. Like, you need to make a decision. You can either choose not to take another breath and you can stay here, or you can choose to go back. And in the moment they said that, the lady on the other side that had been warming the rock had heated a rock for me. Again, I knew nothing about the rock. But she had heated a rock for me, and it was too hot because she held it over the fire with the, she had gone up to the house, got these oven mitts and these tongs, and she held it over the fire with these tongs, holding the end, but it got too hot. So she has these oven mitts on and she's trying to cool it, rolling on this rock, cooling it. And she says, I learned all of this later, but she says she hears the rock is ready now. And she thought to herself, this rock is too hot. So she's just like, whatever. And it's like, the rock is ready now. And so she takes the rock, and I hear her say in that instant, after they told me to choose, she says, I'm putting a rock under here. It's going to be hot. And I hear her say that. And and she slides it under my blanket. Well, my hands were like this, and it touched the back of my hand, and it literally burnt me. Like, it burnt me. I felt it. And that was the first time I was like, holy shit, wait, I have a body. You know what I mean? Like, it jerked me, and I was like, whoa. And then it was like, all, I can't even explain. It was like the meaning of being human, the meaning of the universe. And people call it downloads when they're in meditation, but I'm telling you, it was like bucket loads just being poured in. This shit was just like this, washing into me, of the whole meaning of life, of being human, why we're human, and how we're in these bodies to feel. So in that state that I was in, I felt pure bliss, pure peace, if you want to call it that. But I felt nothing, right? There's no feeling, there's no touch, there's no sight, there's no hearing. There's not even a feeling, and this is hard to comprehend, and it's hard to explain in words. A lot of this is hard to explain in words, but it's not even like you're feeling love, right? So like, if I'm in my human body and I feel this love wash over me, I feel it. But when you're in that state, it's like you are it, so you can't feel it, because you're not separate from it. And so it's like all of this meaning of why we're in these bodies. And so all of that happened, like, I swear to you, within seconds. And I was like, no, I want to go back because I want to feel. And they said, then you have to cool down. So I said, okay. And like, it was like a vacuum, like, and I was like back in my body, and immediately, like, I was like limp, like I said, and then immediately I was back to this. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm trying to gather what happened and I'm like raising my hand, but like one lady's already here, the other one's coming up behind me, and then another one's coming out of the house. So they were already like, I don't know what's going on with her, something. And so I fling it, and I was just like, all I could get out was, I have to cool down. And she was like, okay, the first one that got to me. And so they like threw the blanket back, and she, like grabbed my arm and was like, whoa, like she realized for the first time how hot I was. But I mean, my fever was coming down as soon as I got back, like I knew I was going to be okay. And,
Mm-hmm.
so they helped me up, and I just held on to one of them bawling, and I was like, I died. And she was just like, okay, like that. And I'm like, no, like
You
I,
don't get.
and I chose to come back. And she was just like, well, welcome back. And so I'm just like, I don't think you
Just another Tuesday.
I don't think you understand, but okay. So, yeah. So anyway, then, yeah, so they were like cooling me down. Like one of them went to get, like cool towels and rags and all this stuff. But like I said, I could feel it. Like it was already just, my temperature was coming down, and I was completely weak. I mean, like my knees, my legs just would not work. I was so weak. But I was like, holy shit, I was thinking clearer than I had in like my whole life. It was like everything was just so clear and like so vivid. It was like I was 20 years younger, than I was whenever I came back, with the exception of being weak and not being able to walk. But yeah, it was quite the experience. And so, it changed my life. I started working with mushrooms after that, with guidance and on my own, and then helping others, um, through that. And for me, what came to me now, talking to several, honestly, physicians, facilitators, people that have done this for like 40 years, it is very rare to run fever while on mushrooms, but it does fluctuate your temperature. But more so, it reacts on the serotonin levels. And just coming from the trauma and what I had already been experiencing and releasing, there is a
Mm-hmm.
thing in so there's a video that M shared, and it's like the polar bear shaking,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I had let go and released in my journeys was that, like, I literally would just shake through trauma because I didn't do it in my life in certain
Yeah.
times, situations. And so in that, and the serotonin, factors, being more activated, it's a pseudo fever, meaning like in trauma and shock, people run fever. It depends
Mm-hmm.
on what they're experiencing. And so basically my body was just at such a level of going through this trauma and expelling it, that it raised my temperature to the level that it did. Now, everything on top of that honestly compromised it, being under all of the blankets, being wrapped in where I got no air, being in front of a fire, all of the things. And it just is what it is. And there are multiple people that will say, well, you were on mushrooms, so that didn't really happen. It was just in a journey. And what I
Mm-hmm.
can say is, now at this point in my life, especially since then, that was a couple years ago, I have left my body many times. I have had mystical experiences. I have left my body. And I always knew that I had a body. I always knew that I had a tether to my body. Even at sometimes it was hard to get back. And I think about that lady at Dr. Joe. I've had that experience to where it was hard to come back. And I've had that. And this was totally different. It was an extremely physical, thing. And do I know my fever was 108? No, I don't. That night when I was like, even from being in medicine, I'm like, there's no fucking way that my fever was 108. Like, that's not going to happen. So what do? I Google it, and what does it say? Seizure and death. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, this happened, right? It's literally what it says. And so,
What's that? Did you
so
hear that?
yeah, one of our computers. And
It's
so
too
that's
much.
all I can say. That's all I can say is this is my experience. It was extremely physical. It was extremely different. Whatever it was, I experienced it in the same way. I now talk to people that have had NDEs. I'm in several groups with people that have had NDEs because afterwards I had the same, um, I guess, emotional impact of people that have NDEs because it is very hard to come back. It is
Mhm.
very hard to go from that state to then coming back into the body to living these sometimes bullshit lives
Mhm.
because so many things are just bullshit. And
Yeah.
how can I function anymore after that? Like after I've been at that level, like nothing, I mean, not that it doesn't matter, like love matters and everything else. Like aside from I need help to cool down, the first words I said was it's all so beautiful. Like even the
Mhm.
pain. Like they watched me. All three of them watched me on the ground the day before in the raw pain, purging all of this shit. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, even in all the pain, it is so beautiful. Like that's
Mhm.
why we're here. And even in that, it's like, it's hard to go back into life. Like it's hard to just live day to day life and worry about bills and work and, all of the things. And so it was honestly, it was like a depression, which is actually really common with people with NDEs. So for a couple of months, I was like in this depression. Honestly, it was tough. And Shane did not understand. I mean, he tried, like he was there, but he's just like, I mean, I'm here for you, but I don't know. I don't really know. So anyway, yeah, so that was huge. Obviously, a turning point in my life again. And now I literally devote my life to working with mushrooms.
And holding space for
never, never ever thought that I would have such respect. And I mean,
others.
respect is not even the word, but I mean, such a respect for a plant. I hold it in its highest regard. I promise you, it has not just for me, but what I witness and my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. I mean,
I
it
mean,
is,
there's two things that are because you said it took you a couple of months, well, more than a couple of months to
yeah.
because that would have been my question, like how do you and I haven't even experienced anything like that, but things that change your life I have, and I know what it's like, and it's well, obviously not to that extreme, but to reintegrate and do the silly things, right? And even that idea, like this idea that even the pain, it's all so beautiful. And yeah, I even that I understand, and I tell that to myself many times when I feel like I'm in.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's also, I'm here to, oh, my higher self is like, yes, you're feeling like shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you, because I don't want to feel
Yeah.
like shit. So I understand it intellectually, but
Absolutely.
not to that level, not to that level. And in my head is like, how does that even make
Yeah.
sense? And I
That's what
guess you can't,
I
yeah.
talk about at my retreats now with my clients. I'm like, you've been saying this shit to yourself for years, and it's like you
Mm,
know it intellectually. I did too, but it's like that's like deep knowing in every cell of your body.
yeah.
Like that's just this. Like there's no doubt. There's no nothing when you feel that level of love and all of that. Like it's just such a deep, different kind of knowing. Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to give this 2 seconds. Wow. I've heard this before because you've shared this with me before, and it's still like it's new, and you said it was a couple of years ago. Like, how is that even true?
I know.
Not true. It cannot be true, but it is.
I know. It's
And
crazy.
then see this, you getting to a point of now you're holding space for other people. So on that, where do people find you? Where can they reach out if they want to work with you?
Well, my website is healinghoneywellness.com.
That's
And
so cool.
so you can reach me through that. And, of course, I'm on Facebook and stuff too.
Hmm.
Like I said, I see clients via Zoom. I have a 12-week program that encompasses all of that. and I do one-on-one calls too. And then I hold retreats every 3 months now. So I
Mm-hmm.
alternate Florida. I have a beautiful location in Florida, and then it's this we call it the mansion because it's like this mansion on 118 acres. It's absolutely amazing and beautiful for this space. But so that in Florida, and then Mexico. So I'm actually doing my first one in Mexico in Tulum, which I'm so excited about in June, because the energy there, like the energy in Tulum, like this is the Mayans, like they lived with this medicine, and I am just like, can't wait.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
When in June? And
June 18th through the 23rd. 18th or 23rd, 18th or 24th, something like that. Yeah.
you said this is in Mexico. Because in my head, the thought process goes as follows. I cannot go to the States at the moment because I don't have a visa. Because
Oh,
of
you can come to
because of
Mexico.
but I can go to Mexico. So I am gonna put this in my calendar.
Do that. I still
And
have one I have one private room and one shared spot left. And
oh,
everyone that's going to be there so far, I think. Now one person you don't know, but everybody else you know.
how many people are going?
Four right now,
Oh
possibly five.
my God.
But
Oh my God. So
I keep them very
from the
small.
I know, I understand. Because in situations like this, especially something like what you experience happens, you kind of need to. Anywho, it's in my calendar and it's into the universe now. And
Oh.
because you said you had 108 fever,
Hmm.
you do know 108 is a special number, right?
No.
It's one of the you need to look into it because it's a there's a in the Eastern culture traditions, Indian that kind of air zone domain. There are certain things that happen when you do something 108 times. You know the Shaolin monks that have the mala
Yes.
beads around their
Yeah.
necks, they have 108. They
Yeah.
do, even in yoga, for example, you do things 108 sets of whatever, which is pushing your body. There is something that happens when you live past 84 years, because apparently when you live that long, you've witnessed 108 full moons or something like that.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Huh.
Yeah, you have
I have
there's
no
something
idea.
about it.
I
So
mean,
so in my
said,
head,
I really didn't believe it myself. I did not believe it myself coming out. Like I said, I mean, I was in medicine and I'm like, there's no
yeah,
freaking way. But then I'm
yeah,
like, where did I get that number?
yeah,
Like I say that they told it to me, but where did I get that number? Why would I even say that number? Like, why wouldn't I just say, oh, it's 103 or it's 104? You see what I'm saying? Like, why would it say 108? Where did I get that?
yeah,
And or why would they say that? But to me, some people argue that, but I'm like, my experience was what it was. This is as authentic as I can be. And what I can say now is, having a medical background and working in this, what I can tell you now is I have a pulse ox and a heart rate monitor with me at all times. I am consistently walking around looking at their breathing. Um,
mm,
I have a thermometer with me at all times, and I also have meds with me to counteract the mushrooms if I need to bring you out of it. So I'm
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
if anything can happen in a journey, I promise you it's probably happened to me, and
And you're prepared for it.
a
See,
lot has happened even since then. So if it's happened, it's probably happened to me.
there's a reason why you've experienced it, and also there's a reason why you're keeping it small,
Yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
small group of people,
I
because
have
of that.
I
because
have to be able
because
to be in the energy, and I have to be able to feel what is going on with each of them. And not only that, but the way that I explain mushrooms is I explain it as the medicine opens the door. I call it God. I, my God is a little bit different than, the biblical God, but I call it God. So it opens the door for God to come in and work with you. Plain, it's on a
Mhm.
soul level. You're opening your soul and God to work together for whatever you need to see, whatever you need to experience. And that's what the medicine does. And so in that, I honor whatever their journey is, but I also have to keep myself, like I say, pure, but I have to keep myself clear. I have to stay focused on this energy, within the medicine, because it's so interesting, and the bond that is formed with everyone that is there at the retreat, right? And because they're all in the spirit of the medicine at the same time. And so when you see something happening to one over here, it's going to trickle through to all of these. And
Mhm.
so it's a domino effect, and it can happen within 30 seconds. Everything is calm, and then everything is not so calm, and we have emotions coming out everywhere. So,
Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, there's honestly, I don't, mushrooms work with the nervous system. They do. They work on your serotonin levels, the nervous system. So medically, there's explanations for all of it, but also I honestly don't know. Like, obviously I've done breath work. I've done body work. I've done so much fucking therapy over the years. There's I don't know anything that would touch it. I don't know anything that would actually go in there and help you actually remove it from your body, like to take it out of your nervous system, to take it out of your, and every single thing. I've done 12 journeys now at this point, and I mean, everything I have visited, everything I have done, or I have never gone back to.
That would
It's
have been my next question.
it's
Is
gone.
it once you're gone? See, because personal thing now. I have noticed how I go through patterns and which ones I repeat, which ones I have let go of. And I am not as hardcore, I would say, as you are into experimenting with different medicines. I have had a lot of journeys with breath work and a lot of experiences in meditation, and also done a couple of ketamine journeys. But it's
Yeah,
interesting because for me, I don't feel like ketamine touches anything in the respect of actually removing or getting to the root of and feeling like you don't have to go there again.
same.
So in my head, it's like this is why I even put in my calendar. I would love to attend one of your things, especially because of what you just said there. Because I feel like is in particular right now, I feel like I am going again and revisiting so many things that I've already feel
Hmm.
like I've visited. And it's like, whenever is this gonna end? That's what goes on in my head.
I can tell you. So, like, on occasions, like, some of my clients have been to, all of my retreats, or multiple, and so, like, their journeys might pick up in the same, like, where the other one left off,
Hmm.
but it's for a different reason. Like, it's showing them something else. It's showing them something different. Um, for me, it is vastly, drastically different every single time.
Mm.
But what I can tell you is like, oh my God. I mean, I've healed so many things at this point, but even the grief, like, even to the level that it was, like, I will hear, okay, for example, I'm going to this concert tonight, which my dad used to play with him, right? The singer. And like, I'm fully prepared to feel what some would call grief, okay? In that, like, when I hear this, it's just going to bring back so many memories, and I'm just going to miss him in that moment, right? And so I'm prepared to feel emotion and tears, but what I don't feel is inside me this hole. Like, I don't feel a hole anymore. I don't feel a loss anymore. There can be moments in my days where I something hits me about my son or my stepdaughter or whatever, and I can miss them in that moment, and I can have tears, but it's not a feeling of loss. It's not a this something's missing anymore. And so,
Mhm.
even, with Shane, with my husband, and I've done so much work on that, like being intimate and being open and vulnerable and all of that. And when I go into there, it's like, it's all a matter of feeling safe. It's all a matter of safety. And so I've been there in journeys of revisiting all my childhood of where I didn't feel safe, where I formed these patterns and these things in my nervous system, and why I feel like I can't trust, or why I feel like, and then it's like, again, that cellular knowing.
Mm.
And then it's like, I don't feel that anymore. It's like, it's just gone. And ketamine for me, same thing. So ketamine works in a very different way. And I still do. I still use ketamine at home on occasion. I use it as what I call a tool. It's a very valuable tool. For those, that want to do it at home even, but it's up and out. And so for
Mhm.
me, if I'm in a moment of like stress, like there's a lot of chaos and, like I need to quiet my da 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 that can happen, right? I will do a ketamine journey because it
Mhm.
quiets my thoughts and it's like I can think clearer, I can kind of recenter and I can come back in, right? And I move energy, with ketamine too. Mushrooms go in. You're going in. You're going into every memory, every feeling, every thought, every pattern. Just, it's like spirit is like, your soul is like, this is what you need to see today. This is
I
what,
love the fact that you mentioned the biggest thing that seems to be the theme of my life now too, which is
well,
nervous system.
oh,
Nervous system. And I get that so much. Like the more I look at everything to do with anybody or anything, it's all to do with nervous system and safety. And how safe do you feel in your own body?
absolutely.
And
Post about it. Like, have you seen the nervous system? Like what the nervous system actually
look,
looks like?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I posted a picture of it the other day. I'm
Like,
like, we're walking around with like these live antennas just
yeah,
searching for what to react to, right?
yeah, yeah.
24/7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel that. Like I feel that strongly, especially lately for me, because it feels like I'm all over the place sometimes.
Mm.
Just because of that, just because of looking for where's the next and when's the next thing gonna happen?
Yep.
That's the one that's in my head.
Yep.
Yeah,
When's
and then when do I feel safe? When do I feel safe? When can I just let go? When can I just surrender? When can I just breathe, that.
yeah. It's really about when you overfunction and you're used to having a dysregulated nervous system and not feeling safe. At the root of all of that is, when is it my turn? When is it my turn to be held? When do I get to feel held and supported and loved and safe? And so that's really what you're giving yourself. And you cannot find that outside of you. You cannot find that externally until you feel that inside yourself first. It's not possible. And people will search their whole entire lives in a partner, in children, in their job, and whatever it is, trying to find some sense of safety and feeling okay. But
Mm-hmm.
until you fully get that within yourself, it's like I tell my clients, it's like opposite sides of the magnet. It's going to keep bouncing off. There's nothing for it to stick to. And so when you find that and on that cellular level, that deep knowing inside yourself, only then can you receive, because it's a match. People could try to love you all day long. People could try to hold, like my husband did, hold space for you, show you love, I mean, unconditionally, everything. It won't matter. You can't receive it until you give it to yourself. But it's that child in us that is like, who is going to care for me? Like,
Yeah.
when is it my turn to be held? When is it my turn to feel safe?
It's a bit annoying that you're saying these words right now, and not in a bad way, like, but because it's like you're saying the words that are in my head,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because I hear myself say that, and exactly through the same process of when so feeling like I'm the victim of my own life. Can somebody just save me and look after me now? And then having to go through the process of, hold on a minute, I need to figure this out within myself. Can I be the adult version of me now, looking after my little one now, and meet them, put them face to face together to
Mm.
hold each other, or maybe the adult to hold the little one, and it works that way. And then it goes again, and then it comes again, and then it goes again. So it's a dance at the moment.
Yeah. So it sounds like most of the time you have relied on people outside of you to make you feel like everything is okay, because you were kind of shaky inside and like not sure.
Yeah. I'm getting therapy now as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the greatest thing that you can give yourself to, truly just honestly feel that peace and love within yourself and within your nervous system. I mean, Sherry just did an interview with me about her last journey. Like, that's what it was. She just laid there in such bliss and peace. And she was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be at
Oh,
all. But it was like the medicine was showing her, this is what it feels like to have a calm nervous system. You have never felt this in your whole life. Kind of like what I explained on the other side. But she just laid there, just like, I just want to sit in this, like, this is beautiful. And so that gives you a reference point. So that's what I talk about, in integration and all of that, because when you can reach those levels with the medicine's help, but when you reach those levels, you know what it feels like I know what it felt like on the other side. I
mm-hmm,
remember it like it was yesterday. I know that feeling. And so
mm-hmm,
actually, where I used to live in such these high levels of chronic stress, extreme, I can't even explain, such extreme chronic stress every day, all day. And I can like take this much stress now. Like, I literally can't hold it anymore. I can't handle it
mm-hmm,
anymore because my set point is so different. My set
mm-hmm.
point is like down here now. I can't live up here anymore. It won't, And so it's the same thing like for her. And so her reference point is different now. And so when she experiences her nervous system going like this, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't have to feel like that anymore. Oh yeah, I remember what this feels like. Like, you felt it, you know it. And it's like, that's what you can keep going back to. And that's the gift of the medicine. Like, that is integration. That's the gift that the medicine gives you to me.
Come June, Mexico.
It is. I'm going to send you pictures. I'm so freaking excited. It's so beautiful.
Like, even if you can send me the link as well of the, because I imagine you've got a website probably with a link with the registration for the retreat.
Yeah.
And I know for sure I'm going to put it in for everybody else to check it out,
Okay.
or
Do that.
any other future ones.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been a journey.
Thank you for letting me share it all as a whole. It
Thank you.
was
Thank
a
you
little
for
bit.
Well, thank you for allowing me to hold this space, because we were talking about holding space, to have this space for you to share all this. This
Yeah.
has been a long time in the making, because I think we wanted to do this closer to the time when it first happened, when you first had your NDE, but it didn't happen, and then
Look
here
at
we
everything
are.
that's happened since, though. That's what I said.
Yeah.
It's like everything looking back over the last 4 years is literally like steps. It's like here, 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 here. It's been so wild to look back and see it like that. But yeah, I can't even say that to say that I am living a life that I never thought that I would live is putting it mildly. I never thought that I would be doing this. I thought that I would be helping people with their grief. Yes. And I, saw myself doing that. Trauma. Yes. But to this level, to witness this type of transform, like, this is pure soul work. I mean, it is literally soul work that I have to consistently, like, not get in the business of it, right? Because for 10 years I was hustle, go, sell, you know, and I have to completely remove myself from that to stay authentic and stay pure in what I'm doing. And like, it can't be, not, there is a business associated with it, but I have to really not get lost in the weeds in that, and just allow my soul to take it where it goes. I mean, I've had retreats there, I'm like, I don't even know if they're going to happen, and it's like a week before, because people will fall off, like have to cancel, and then
Mm.
another will come in, and then they have, and I'm just like, I literally have to just get out of the way, and whoever is meant to show up for this medicine with this particular group of people is who it's going to be meant for, and it's constantly staying out of the way. So yeah, it's definitely a learning lessons and journey for me too.
I love that, and I love the staying out of the way, because I know the feeling as well of wanting to control it,
Yeah.
and
Whew,
how it's
I'm a
going to
control
go.
freak.
When
So yeah.
That's
My
a good
husband,
one. Oh
he told
God.
me the other night, just the other night, he's like, I'm going to do the dishes, and I don't care if it's not how you would do them. I'm still going to do them. And it didn't even faze me. Like I told you, I'm like, this is so cool. Like I literally don't even care that the dishes are different in the dishwasher.
As used to be a thing before, I imagine. Wow.
Yes.
I think we're going to leave this here.
All right.
And I am very excited to release it to the world and see where it goes and what happens
Me
from
too.
there. Thank you very much
You're so welcome.
for being here and for sharing your story.
Thank you for listening. For anybody else listening.